Hi, I'm Karen, also known as the Preacher Lady. I am sure most of you in the geek community know that Stan Lee has passed away. So this week's devotion is With Great Power Comes Great Responsibility, a memorial to Stan Lee. For those who know me, I am usually a DC girl, but everything that I loved in the Marvel Universe came from the mind of Stan Lee. Spider-Man, the Hulk, the Avengers. He created realistic characters that struggled with right and wrong and how to use their powers for good. My favorite quote has to be the one that Uncle Ben said to Peter Parker: "With great power comes great responsibility." Stan Lee made his characters so relatable because we all struggle with doing the right thing, not acting out of hate or anger. We empathize with the struggles that his heroes are going through. As a pastor, in writing this, I thought about what I would say if I had been asked to take part in his memorial service. In honor of his Jewish heritage, I would try to focus on passages of scripture from the Old Testament that spoke to me of the way that he lived. But the scripture that popped into my mind first was from Matthew's Sermon on the Mount. Since Jesus was Jewish and was interpreting the Hebrew scriptures for people, and Stan Lee was professing agnostic, I hope he wouldn't mind. The first passage I would pick to describe Stan Lee would be Psalm 8. Yesterday, I saw a really sweet cartoon on Facebook. It showed Stan Lee at the gates of heaven holding all of his comic writing and painting equipment. And God greeted him, saying, "You're not half bad at creating universes yourself, kid." So, in remembering all the wonderful universes Stan Lee created, listen with me to the words of Psalm 8. O Lord, our sovereign, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set your glory above the heavens. Out of the mouths of babes and infants, you have founded a bulwark because of your foes, to silence the enemy and the avenger. When I look at the heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars that you have established, what are human beings that you are mindful of them, mortals that you care for them? Yet you have made them a little lower than God, and crowned them with glory and honor. You have given them dominion over the works of your hands. You have put all things under their feet, all sheep and oxen, and also the beasts of the field, the birds of the air and the fish of the sea, whatever passes along the paths of the sea. O Lord, our sovereign, how majestic is your name in all the earth. The second scripture that comes to mind when I think of Stan Lee was Micah 6:8. It goes like this: He has told you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, and to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. The characters he created all struggle with doing justice, being kind, and being humble, and how to balance these virtues as a superhero. More than that, I think Stan Lee himself tried to embody these things. Going to hear Stan Lee talk on the opening night of MegaCon was always one of the highlights of my weekend. He always treated fans with kindness and respect. He is undoubtedly one of the greatest public figures of our time, and yet he was humble enough to answer the most hesitant fans' questions. He sought justice through his charitable work, including the Stan Lee Foundation, that seeks to provide access to literacy, education, and the arts to all. His work and attitude make him as much a hero as any of the characters that he lovingly created. Now, for this first scripture that popped into my head when thinking of Stan Lee's life and contributions to society, it's part of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. It's Matthew 5:13 through 16. You are the salt of the earth. But if salt has lost its taste, how can saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under a bushel basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Stan Lee spent his life shining light in our troubled world. He gave us heroes to look up to and hope that there is still good in humanity. His stories definitely added flavor to our lives. Stan Lee, your body of work and the characters that you created will continue to light our way and add spice to our lives for many, many years to come. You will be greatly missed. And when we get to heaven, we will look for you to greet us with your joyful exclamation, Excelsior!